Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack a really fascinating way to think about your own mind as its own internal social media feed.
Now, this is part 3 of our mini-series, so if you're just jumping in, we're exploring a whole new framework for how consciousness works.
All right, let's just dive right in with a pretty wild idea. What if the endless scroll, the recommendation algorithm, the viral outrage? What if Silicon Valley didn't invent any of that? What if all they really did was build a machine that perfectly mirrors the process that's already running inside your head?
To really get our heads around that claim, we first have to understand the core concept from the source material. It's an idea called liquid information. So here's the big shift in thinking. Instead of imagining your mind as a computer, with neat files and folders, I want you to picture it more like a river. It's this constantly moving, shifting field of information. Your thoughts, your memories, your feelings, they aren't static things. They're just patterns forming and dissolving in this dynamic flow.
And this is where it gets really interesting. This flow isn't just one steady speed. Depending on your mental state, that information can speed way up, like when you're feeling anxious, or it can slow right down and pool, like when you're lost in deep thought. It can get choppy and fragmented, or it can stabilize into this really clear, coherent stream. And this is happening every single moment.
So what directs this flow? What creates the currents and eddies? Emotion. In this model, emotions aren't some kind of bug in the system that messes with your rational thought. No, they are the fundamental forces, kind of like gravity or the wind, that actually steer the river of your consciousness. Fear can make a thought accelerate and get all turbulent, while calm allows that information to flow smoothly. Emotion is literally the architect of your mind.
Okay, so now that we have that foundation, consciousness as a fluid directed by emotion, let's bring back that social media analogy and see how your internal feed actually works. And this is where it all just snaps into focus. Think about it. On social media, you scroll to see what's next. Well, in your mind, your attention is the scroll. It determines what information you're looking at. The likes and shares that tell the algorithm what's important, that's your emotion. Your memories, that's the massive data archive. And your brain's constant process of predicting what's about to happen, that's the recommendation engine, serving up what it thinks you need to see.
Yeah, just let that one hang in the air for a second. Just like your social feed isn't the entire internet, your conscious awareness isn't the whole of reality. It's a highly curated, deeply personalized stream of information that your own internal algorithm has decided is important for you right now.
So what is our internal algorithm value? What's the currency? While a social media platform is hunting for likes and shares, your brain is optimizing for something way more primal. It pushes anything with high emotional intensity to the top, anything relevant to your survival, any thought that reinforces your sense of who you are, and crucially, anything that's uncertain or unresolved. That's the stuff that gets top billing in your mental feed.
And this really gets to the heart of it. Your brain's #1 job isn't to be a philosopher, seeking objective truth. It's a survival machine. So an emotionally impactful thought, a flash of fear, a jolt of anger, gets prioritized because, hey, that could be a threat or maybe an opportunity. Whether it's true or not is a secondary concern to its immediate impact.
And just like on social media, this system creates these powerful self-reinforcing feedback loops. The more you pay attention to an anxious thought, the more emotional charge it gets. That emotion acts as an engagement signal that tells your brain, hey, this is important, show me more like this. And the brain does. And pretty soon, your entire perception of the world can start to reshape itself around that one recurring idea.
So the takeaway here is that your reality isn't just something that happens to you. It's something you are actively co-creating, moment by moment, just by where you choose to place your attention. Where your attention flows, your reality grows.
Now, this internal algorithm is incredibly fast, and it's super efficient at sorting all this information by its impact. But it makes you wonder, right? In the flow of your own mind, is faster always better?
This is such a critical distinction. On one hand, you have viral information, which is basically mental clickbait. These are the intrusive thoughts, the catchy anxieties, the oversimplified stories that spread like wildfire through your mind. They're fast, they're noisy, but they shatter your attention. And on the other hand, you have coherent information. This is the stuff that's integrated, meaningful, and actually builds a stable, deep understanding of the world.
This is such a powerful thing to remember. The loudest, fastest thought in your head is not necessarily the most important one or the truest one. An intrusive worry can feel incredibly urgent, but that urgency is just a measure of its emotional charge, not its actual validity. And when we get trapped in these viral feedback loops over and over again, we can literally build an internal echo chamber inside our own heads. It's not just a problem on social media. It creates what the source calls a frozen flow pattern in the mind, where your thinking gets defensive, your identity gets rigid, and curiosity just gets replaced by certainty.
Okay, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds a little bleak, right? Like we're just passengers trapped inside our own algorithmic minds. But this is where the whole thing pivots, from just understanding the mechanism to actually taking control of it. Let's talk about becoming your own algorithm. This, right here, is the single most empowering message of this whole explainer. The goal isn't to try and escape the algorithm or shut it down. That's impossible. The goal is to become aware of it, to see it running, to notice the patterns in your own mental feed, and to realize, maybe for the first time, that you have a choice in what you engage with.
So how do you actually do that? You start editing the algorithm. You can consciously choose to change your attention habits. You can practice emotional regulation to change the very forces that steer your thoughts. You can curate your environment to control your inputs, and you can be deliberate about the information you consume, your mental diet. You retrain the algorithm by changing what you feed it.
Which leaves us with one last pretty profound question. This whole framework suggests that you are not just a passive observer of your own reality. You are the curator. You are the editor. You are the algorithm itself. So, knowing that, what reality are you going to choose to create?
If you want to dive deeper, the full framework, the experiments, and all the extensions are detailed in the paper linked right below.